Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future. John F. Kennedy. Welcome to Progressive Voices of Arizona, a place where people can discuss the issues that affect people all over the nation and look for possible solutions to restore society's humanity. Kick off your shoes, grab yourself a snack and something to drink, and listen in with Scott and Kara, your hosts of Progressive Voices of Arizona.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Progressive Voices of Arizona. We're here for another interesting and somewhat enlightening show, hopefully. You can find Progressive Voices on the internet. We are on Facebook, Progressive Voices of Arizona. We are on Twitter, @ProVoicesAZ. We have a website, www.provoicesaz.com. I think we have like an Instagram and a Tumblr and just a whole bunch of other shit.
Just Google us, for goodness sake.
Google us. You'll find us. We're not that hard to, not that difficult to find. So tonight's show, we're going to have a little bit of interesting. So we have a guest here who has their own podcast, and we're having them on the show tonight so they can talk about that. We're going to then go into some of the fun. Okay, well, it's not really fun, but some of the shitty things that have been happening this week, locally, statewide, and of course federally, because that's what we do.
If you haven't started drinking, I suggest a shot.
Pop a top off a couple, pour a couple of shots, be ready,
and take the fucking
like.
nipple off it. Just drink it, okay?
Yeah.
Drink it in.
Yeah, suck it down. Suck it down. So our guest tonight is Jack, and I always screw up the name. I know it. Marteco? Oh, fuck. He told me this like 5 minutes ago, and I can't remember. Say it again.
Materco. Wow, you've even fucked up your own last name. That's commendable. That's awesome.
And and Jack's got a podcast called The Naked Diner, which, of course, is awesome because, there's nudity involved.
That sounds
Even though it's radio, you can't see it, but it's there.
It sounds really sexy. I just hope the cooks aren't naked because that grease can kind of not be good.
We stumbled on that name. It's actually a William Burroughs reference because we're super nerds.
Well, that's always a good thing because that means you're educated, right?
Edumacated? What?
Which is something that is in deep need in the United States these days. Education. Nerdiness, intelligence, that kind of stuff. So,
book
go ahead.
reading, facts,
so
things like that.
When did the Naked Diner start? How did you come up with the podcast, and what is your focus?
Well, I had done other podcasts in the past, and on one of my other shows, Andrew Hall, my co-host, had been on the show a couple times, and we had kept in touch since then. And he writes for Pathos over on it's the non-believer channel now, right?
Yeah.
Non-religious. It's not the atheist channel anymore. So he writes over for them, and he hits me up one day, and he's just like, I've been thinking of doing a show. I'm just like, well, okay, I'll do another show. And so we started just getting guests to come on and talk about what they do. And we've been doing that for a little over a year now. We took a little break for the winter, but we're going to start doing it again. We've already got 2 or 3 episodes recorded for the new season that starts at the end of March.
And what kind of stuff do you guys focus on specifically?
Well, it's a little varied. We like having other secular atheist people on to talk as much as we can. We also like to get comedians, authors. We have a pretty big range of people who've been on the show.
And so do you go from a more like secular political standpoint, or just the idea
definitely.
that... Okay, good. Because that's the kind of thing that, of course, we support, is anybody that's ready to go into secular politics. So you guys are fixing to start back
it's
up,
just not
basically.
necessarily always politics. Yeah. First episode goes out. It's going to be March 27th. Is going to be our first episode back with Travis from the Satanic Temple Boston chapter. Is actually our first guest.
Nice.
Yeah, we've had a few people from the Satanic Temple on the show. We've had Chalice Blythe from Utah,
Fenrez
from Portland, Lilith Starr from Seattle,
Chalice,
talking about the After School Satan Club, which is apparently it's starting to build some traction. They're not getting a lot of members, but it's the fact that they're actually starting to be allowed in schools is a really good positive for those of us that are completely for the separation of church and state, and understand that indoctrination at a young age is a bad idea. Because then you end up with people like, I don't know, what's that guy on the 700 Club that I don't like?
Oh, Pat Robertson.
Oh yeah, that
Robertson.
Yeah, him. He's one of my favorite people.
What a
I love
blowhard.
listening to his shows. Actually, I don't. I don't bother even listening because I would just get frustrated with him.
You hate watch the 700 Club?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh my God! Which is why we don't actually have TV anymore. I mean, we literally stream everything. If we want to see something annoying, we'll just go on, I don't know, Facebook or the internet. Oh.
Yeah, we'll go to work.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that's one of the reasons I kind of got into podcasting in the first place, because I like having conversations with people, but just sitting watching somebody talk at you is just horrible for me.
Yeah.
So this was a really great way to just get in touch with all these people who I said, hey, you said something interesting. Come on my show and talk about it.
Now, whenever you actually
really well
your show's not live, right? It's pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Now,
it's more of a release schedule thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we like to do ours live because we try to get people to call in, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We're going to try here in a little bit to see if anybody will call in and talk about it. Now, one of the reasons that we started our podcast show, or whatever you want to call it, up is because both of us are secular people. You know, Kara's an atheist, I'm a humanist, and we are very supportive of the idea of the separation of church and state, and understand that trying to legislate with religion and trying to dictate morality by religion is a bad idea. And we're seeing more of, now to the new administration of our country, we're seeing a lot more possibility of having people pushing theocracy into schools, theocracy into legislation. Is that something that through your podcast you're going to try to stop that or try to work against it?
Well, I mean, we will talk to people who are trying to do that in more active ways and help them get their messages out. And that's definitely a big part of what we do. We've had Dan Arrow on a few times, Russell Glasser, people like that, to talk about what they're doing to try and stem the tide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working that well, does it? Because they keep getting elected.
We were making really good progress for a while, and I think, it's going to be one of those two steps forward, one step back kind of things where I don't know. It seems like that the stuff that they're trying to push through is really potentially disastrous in a lot of ways,
Right. Well, didn't they just, I think,
like
Oklahoma, was it, that just passed something to push Christianity in schools? God, I can't remember what it was. I saw an article about it.
And they keep saying that they want to leave it at the state level, but at the same time they're cutting the budgets for all the oversight to make sure that it's not happening. So even if it's still there in law, there's not going to be anyone going to check. It's almost like the whole oil rig fiasco when the one in the Gulf of Mexico blew up. The reason that happened is because
Deepwater Horizon.
Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah. The reason, even though there was all the stuff in place that said that those safety checks should have been happening, they weren't happening because the people who were supposed to check were understaffed and underpaid. And you're going to have the same problem maintaining those regulations in education with somebody like Betsy DeVos in charge,
Well, I mean, once she really gets a handle on it and they start passing a whole bunch more of those presidential thingies that Trump is so happy about, then they're just going to basically turn, schools into religious doctrination. which is kind of strange because for a country that is so against the idea of Sharia law,
yeah.
law, they're sure trying to push Christian Sharia law.
Oh, it's okay because they're white.
Well, and it's Christian.
I mean, I hate to say that, but
I think you woke up Alexa.
Alexa, hello.
Yeah, we have Alexa in the background. She tends to chime in every once in a while. But I mean, overall, I mean, we're seeing a big pickup in legislation at state level around the country to push religious indoctrination, and it really is sad because for people that believe in the First Amendment to the Constitution, government should not be doing that, and here they are doing it anyway. And the people that we have. That we can go to try to overturn this crap is in the pockets of those that are doing it. So we're all kind of screwed in a way.
People don't even understand the First Amendment. They're like, oh, you're in a closed Facebook group, and then you try to basically quiet.
Our dog is having a little bit of a problem.
You
She probably heard
basically
the ice
try
cream
to
machine.
say, hey, you know
Excited.
what? There's guidelines in this group. Oh, you're violating my freedom of speech. No, first off, I'm not the government. Second off, this is a public fucking forum.
No, it's a private forum.
Or a private forum, but it's on a public. I mean,
No,
Facebook is.
it's still a private forum. If it's closed,
Well,
then they can't act.
Yeah,
people
Facebook
outside
is a
can't.
private forum.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Well, in a closed group, it's a very private forum. Only the people
Right.
that are allowed in the group can see what's going on. But yeah, we saw this conversation happening in one of our local chat groups for Apache Junction, where they were talking about the First Amendment and freedom of speech, and someone was upset because their First Amendment rights were being violated by the admin. And it's like, the admin doesn't work for the government.
No, that's not how that works.
The admin is the person that allows you into the group, and there's rules. And if you violate the rules or cause problems, then they have every right to throw you out, and it doesn't violate any of your rights. It just makes you butthurt, basically. So take your butt hurt and go somewhere else if you can't handle it. But yeah, that's the thing is we're seeing a lot of what was that? Deliverance interpretation. The movie Deliverance.
Oh my
and
God.
interpreting constitutional law. It's not really that great. There's a lot of lack of knowledge in the deliverance definitions of First Amendment rights.
I don't know about that. I mean, they're definitely being smart about the way that they're doing it. I mean, like with the voucher system program, right? I mean, they're saying that these voucher that charter schools and private schools and home schools that receive voucher money will still have to meet education standards. But again, they're gutting all the oversight to make sure that they're meeting those standards.
Right.
So
right.
that's gonna slip.
Right. So you have charter schools and private schools that are allowed to hire, Norman Bates as a teacher who has no educational experience, kind of like Betsy DeVos. And they're okay to be allowed to be teachers. But if you go to a public school, you have to have minimum requirements of a teaching degree and all these other minimum requirements just to actually apply.
Oh, not according to that. Oh,
Well,
God.
not
What was
in a
that
charter
one?
school.
No, that one senator that just basically went on the record saying that
It's not so hard to teach.
loosely anybody could be a fucking teacher. You don't need to know anything about facts. You don't need to know anything about education. You don't need to know how to handle kids. Anybody could teach.
Yeah, well, that's
It's
part
like,
of the dumbing down of our
really?
country.
Well, yeah, but the fact is a lot of the people actually believe that. And those are the people that we're never going to sway. So how are we going to change that?
Taser, maybe?
Well, so they flop around like a fish?
Yeah, and they
Okay.
drool while we're watching Super Nanny. So anyway, we're kind of
I also
pushing-
think there's a
Go ahead.
I also think there's a weird monetary